Shawn Bennett, and let's see if I can mess this up. Yeah. All right, and I'm with Energy in Depth, Ohio. We are an education research outreach initiative. I'm the field director. My counties include Muskingum here, Guernsey, where I'm from, and actually born and raised in Cambridge, Ohio, Noble, Belmont, Harrison, Jefferson, and Coshocton counties. So what we have here, essentially a little history. That actually has been a history lesson this whole panel. But what we have in Ohio, I guess to really get to where we are today, we have to know where we came from. And the total wells in Ohio's history is about 275,000 wells. So this is a play that's been ongoing throughout our entire history. We actually had one of the first wells, I think, between Pennsylvania and Texas. We're still kind of fighting that one out. But one thing we do have, yes, Ronnie says we're number one. One thing we are number one in, and this is kind of funny, is we are actually the first offshore drilling rig in the United States in Lake St. Mary's over in western Ohio. So you learned something here today. But the total producing wells here in Ohio is actually 64,000. They generate a lot of royalties, a lot of energy here in Ohio, and actually across the nation. Now, drill bits tested. Ohio and gas reservoirs depths are ranging 100 feet. Actually, the first well was about 150 feet, I believe. Dumb luck, they struck oil. It's sort of like the Clampets. So, and then it goes all the way down to 13,700 feet. That was done by a resident over in Cambridge by the name of Dave Hill. And that was actually a very large science project there in Belmont County that actually reached 13,727 feet. And that's actually the deepest drill that's ever been done here in Ohio. And also, people like to know, oil and gas is essentially situated here in eastern and southeastern Ohio, but it's interesting to know that 79 out of all Ohio 88 counties actually have been producing oil and natural gas. And people love to think that hydraulic fracturing, is kind of the new conversation that we have here. Hydraulic fracturing has been around in Ohio since 1953, and there's actually been over 80,000 wells throughout that time frame that have been hydraulic fractured. And this is pretty nifty little news article here from the Hartville News in 1954. Hydraulic process used in development of new oil well in rural farm. And that was I think the second or third oil well that actually used the hydraulic fracturing process here in Ohio. Technology. The major events that actually, the oil and gas industry is essentially just an industry of innovation. In 1908, Howard Hughes Sr. Actually invented the rotary drill bit. I think in 1948, his son's company then actually did the tri-bit rotary drill bit that's still used in commonplace here today. In 1947, hydraulic fracture was actually introduced in Kansas, and then made its way over to Ohio here in about 1953, and that's when we started fracturing of the Clinton sandstone. In 1963, we began seismic processing. That is essentially when you shoot the radio waves back up, and actually we kind of saw that on Larry's slideshow, that you get to see a snapshot of what's going on underneath the ground. And what makes that more important, in 1985, you got the seismic data from the Rose Run Formation, which then gave us a snapshot of what the Utica looks like. And then in 1990, in Alabama, we had started going horizontal laterals here in the United States. And actually, horizontal drilling has been done since 1982 commercially. That started over in France. Regulations. Here about 2010, we had Senate Bill 165. And what makes Senate Bill 165 very important is it's actually the most significant revision that Ohio has ever seen for laws. They essentially took what regulations we had, kind of threw them out the book, and worked right back through it to make sure that everything was updated. They wanted to make sure that everybody was very compliant, and they saw what was happening over in Pennsylvania and wanted to make sure that we were ready for when it comes over. Now what it also did was raise the DMRM budget, Division of Mineral Resources Management, from $3.1 million to $7.1 million. Now this money is not raised from GRF. This money is raised by industry from fees. So they're the ones actually footing the bill to make sure that they are regulated and that the enforcement is proper. And that is very important to the industry because without proper enforcement, some people may slip through the cracks, but when you have proper enforcement, you get things done, you make sure everything's done right, and that's very important to industry. What it also did, and Larry touched upon this when he was talking about hydraulic fracturing and about well construction. What Senate Bill 165 did was essentially put in extra implementations on well construction, where today we actually have 6 to 7 layers of protection from actually the producing well all the way through the groundwater areas. So what you essentially have is you drill down and you cement, and then you drill all the way down through again through the water table, and you cement that back up. And there is actually an inspector on site to make sure that the cement is proper and stays, so the groundwater is protected. And then also the completion practices. Now what you have here is the regulation view. People, we have a very transparent industry here in Ohio. With completion practices, everything that was done at the well site is actually sent over to ODNR and is made public for record. So if you wanted to go out and see what's going on in a well, they will give you everything that happened at that well, from the beginning of the drilling to the hydraulic fracturing process, to the pressure that was used and the chemicals that were used. I'm going to go quicker. Federal regulations. 1509, which is what Ohio oil and gas regulations are. We're going to start speaking like the micro machines man. Actually, we are completely covered under the Safe Drinking Water Act. You cannot get a permit issued if there's any inclination or thought that you may damage any public water supply. Clean Water Act. Each operation has to get an NPDES standard permit and also a stormwater permit. The Clean Air Act. Ohio EPA just released shale rules that actually is going to have monitoring devices at all development and production sites to make sure that emission standards are low enough and they're not exceeding anything that causes health hazards. I can't speak that quickly, I guess. The Halliburton loophole. I always love the Halliburton loophole because it makes no sense. Nobody in the industry knows what it is. And just for your own food fodder, just go on Halliburton.com, and the first thing that comes up is actually the list of additives they use in their fracturing process. So if they want to really be secretive, I don't think they put it on the front page. Then I also kind of discussed the fracturing ticket, fracturing chart. You can actually go to ODNR. I always go to ODNR MSDS, and it'll show you exactly what's going into these wells. So you're able to see, again, we're very transparent, letting everybody know what's going on. Strong review. 2 minutes. Strong review process. Here in 2011. Ohio actually went through the State Review of Oil and Natural Gas Environmental Regulations. And they essentially looked at our program, broke it down, and looked at 1509, which was the Ohio Revised Code section that oil and gas regulations put under. They put it through all the tests. You had state regulators, the environmental community, federal regulators, and industry kind of sit in a room and just go through the whole law and see what was going to happen, see what people agreed with, what people disagreed with. And what they came to the conclusion was that Ohio's regulatory program is overall well-managed, professional, and meeting its program objectives, and has a lot to recommend to other states. Now, to get an environmentalist to say that we have a lot to recommend to other states is pretty good in my book. And when you have industry and regulators also saying that as well, that means we're stepping up and we're doing a good job here. All right, I made it in 2 minutes, so thank you very much.